what if I told you the ending of One Piece was hidden in Chapter 1? Not the treasure itself, not Laugh Tale, but the true meaning behind the entire story. Because when you go back to the very beginning of One Piece, there's one idea Oda repeats again and again: freedom, inherited will, and laughter. And somehow, every major mystery in the series connects back to those three things. The very first chapter of One Piece is called Romance Dawn, not Pirate King, not the Great Treasure. Romance Dawn, a new beginning. And from the start, Luffy never cared about controlling people. He didn't want power, he wanted freedom. That's why he says becoming Pirate King means becoming the freest man on the sea. Now think about that. The world of One Piece is completely controlled by the world government. History is forbidden, knowledge is erased, entire civilizations disappeared. So if the final enemy of the story is control, then the ending of One Piece has to be liberation. And Oda may have shown us that from page 1. Then there's Shanks. The moment he gives Luffy the straw hat feels emotional, but it's actually much bigger than that. The straw hat represents inherited will. Roger passed his dream to Shanks, and Shanks passed it to Luffy. But the craziest part is the line Shanks says after losing his arm. He says he betted on the new era, not on Luffy becoming strong, on Luffy changing the world. And once we learned Roger was too early, everything changed. Because that means Roger discovered the truth, but the world wasn't ready for it yet. Luffy's generation is. Which means Chapter 1 wasn't just the beginning of Luffy's journey, it was the continuation of Roger's unfinished mission. Now here's the biggest clue. When Roger finds the One Piece, he laughs. That's why the final island is called Laugh Tale. And what does Luffy do constantly throughout the series? He laughs. What does Joy Boy represent? Freedom, joy, liberation. Even Gear 5 transforms Luffy into a warrior who literally fights with laughter. That cannot be a coincidence. The One Piece probably isn't just treasure. It's the truth of the world. A story so ridiculous, so unbelievable, that Roger couldn't do anything except laugh. And maybe that's why Oda hid the ending in Chapter 1. Because the core message of One Piece never changed. Freedom is worth risking everything for. There's one final detail people miss. In Chapter 1, Luffy gives himself the scar under his eye. Why would Oda include that? Because scars matter in One Piece. They represent inherited pain. Every generation carries the wounds of the last. The Void Century, Joy Boy's apology, the slaves of Mary Geas. For 800 years, the world has been broken. And Luffy, the boy introduced with a scar under his eye, may be the person destined to finally heal it. Not through revenge, but through liberation. Through Dawn, Romance Dawn. And that's why the ending of One Piece may have been hidden in Chapter 1 all along. Not as a spoiler, but as a promise that one day, someone would bring the dawn of the world. And from the very beginning, Oda showed us exactly who that person would be. Monkey D. Luffy.